My great-grandmother, bless her heart, always told us our family came from nothing. We were, in her words, good, honest dirt. Farmers and laborers, people who worked the land and never asked for more than their fair share. It was a story I believed my whole life, a narrative of humble beginnings that made our small successes feel like monumental achievements. But a family secret, buried for generations, was about to rewrite everything I thought I knew. It all started with a box. After my grandfather passed, we were clearing out his attic, a dusty time capsule filled with forgotten treasures and decades of memories. Tucked away in a dark corner, under a pile of old quilts, was a heavy, ornate wooden chest I'd never seen before. It wasn't locked, but the clasp was stiff with age. With a groan of protest, the lid opened, releasing the scent of old paper and cedar. Inside, nestled among yellowed photographs and bundles of letters tied with faded ribbon, was a leather-bound journal. The cover was worn, the initials EV, embossed in gold leaf, barely visible. My great-grandfather's name was Edward Vance. This had to be his. My hands trembled as I opened it. The first page was dated 1928. His handwriting was elegant, a stark contrast to the simple farmer I'd always imagined him to be. I spent the entire night reading. The journal didn't speak of crops or cattle. It spoke of betrayal. Edward wasn't just a farmer. He was the youngest son of a wealthy landowner, Lord Alistair Vance of Blackwood Manor. Our family wasn't good, honest dirt. We were disinherited aristocracy. According to the journal, Edward's older brother, Julian, was a jealous and manipulative man. He saw Edward's favor with their father and feared being overshadowed. The journal detailed how Julian systematically framed Edward for embezzlement from the family's estate. He forged documents, bribed accountants, and poisoned their father's mind against his youngest son. The final entry was heartbreaking. "Father cast me out today," Edward wrote. "Called me a thief and a disgrace. He gave me £100 and told me to never show my face at Blackwood again." Julian stood behind him, a smirk playing on his lips. "He has won. I have lost everything. My name, my home, my family." My great-grandfather took that £100, moved across the country, and became a farmer. He changed his story, burying the pain of his past under a new identity. He married my great-grandmother and never spoke of Blackwood Manor again. He erased a legacy of wealth and privilege to protect his new family from the shame he felt. I was stunned. I felt a surge of anger, not at my great-grandfather, but at Julian. At the injustice of it all. I did some research online, my fingers flying across the keyboard. Blackwood Manor was real. It was now a luxury hotel and a popular tourist destination, still owned by the descendants of Julian Vance. Their website boasted about their unbroken line of noble heritage. Unbroken? It was a lie, built on the ruin of my great-grandfather's life. That's when the idea of revenge, or rather justice, started to form. It wasn't about money. It was about the truth. It was about reclaiming the honor of a man who had been wrongfully cast out. I booked a weekend stay at Blackwood Manor, using the name Mr. Edwards to avoid suspicion. Driving through the grand iron gates, seeing the sprawling estate for the first time, felt surreal. This should have been my history, my home. The hotel manager, a polished man named Mr. Davies, gave me a tour. He proudly pointed out the portrait of Lord Julian Vance in the main hall. "The man who secured the family's fortune," he said with reverence. I had to bite my tongue to keep from shouting that he was a liar and a thief. My plan was simple, yet audacious. The hotel was hosting a large gala that weekend, celebrating the anniversary of the Vance family's continuous stewardship of the estate. The current head of the family, a man named Marcus Vance, Julian's great-grandson, was scheduled to give a speech. That was my stage. I spent the day exploring, the journal in my bag feeling like a lead weight. I found the old family library, now a quiet reading room for guests. I imagined my great-grandfather here as a boy, reading books, unaware of the betrayal that awaited him. The sense of loss was profound. The night of the gala arrived. The ballroom was glittering with chandeliers and filled with the region's elite. I managed to slip a sizable donation to the event's charity, which got me a seat near the front. My heart was pounding in my chest. I felt like an imposter, but also like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Marcus Vance took the stage. He was the spitting image of the portraits of Julian, arrogant and self-satisfied. He began his speech, droning on about tradition, honor, and the integrity of the Vance name. As he spoke, I made my move. I stood up, my voice shaking but clear. "Excuse me, Mr. Vance. I believe there are a few pages of your family's history that you've conveniently left out." A hush fell over the room. All eyes turned to me. Security started moving in my direction, but I held up the journal. "My name is not Mr. Edwards. My name is the great-grandson of Edward Vance, the man your great-grandfather, Julian, framed and disinherited to steal this very estate." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Marcus's face went pale, then red with fury. "This is absurd! Security, remove this man! Let him speak!" a voice called out from the back. The press who were covering the event were now swarming, cameras flashing. They smelled a story far bigger than a society gala. I opened the journal and began to read. I read Edward's words, his pain and shock at his brother's betrayal. I read about the forged documents, the lies, and the final heartbreaking entry. With each word, the foundation of the Vance family's honorable legacy began to crumble. I presented photocopies of the key journal entries that I'd had notarized, passing them to the reporters. When I finished, there was a stunned silence. Marcus Vance was speechless, his carefully constructed world collapsing around him. The story was undeniable, the evidence in my hand authentic and raw. The next day, the headlines were explosive. "Vance Legacy a Lie," one read. "The Hidden Gate, Disinherited Heir's Story Revealed," read another. The fallout was immediate. The Vance family's reputation was destroyed. Bookings at the hotel were canceled. The story of their treachery became a local legend. I didn't pursue legal action to claim the estate. That was never my goal. The truth was my victory. I had cleared my great-grandfather's name. I had given him the justice he was denied in life. Returning home, I placed the journal back in its chest, but this time on our mantelpiece, a proud symbol of our real history. We weren't descended from dirt. We were descended from a man of honor who, when faced with the ultimate betrayal, chose to build a new life from scratch rather than live under the shadow of a lie. He forged a legacy far richer and more meaningful than any plot of land or grand manor. He taught us that true wealth isn't what you inherit, but the integrity you build. And that's a family secret worth shouting from the rooftops. Thanks for sticking with me through this incredible story. If you've ever uncovered a surprising piece of your own family history, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories that prove the truth is often stranger than fiction. See you next time. Family gatherings, right? They can be a mixed bag. You've got the sweet aunts, the uncles telling the same old stories, and then you've got that one cousin. For me, that's Leo. Growing up, Leo was the golden child. Captain of the football team, straight-A student, always had the shiniest toys. I, on the other hand, was the quiet, nerdy kid, always with my head in a book or sketching in a notepad. Leo never missed a chance to remind me of that. "Still playing with your little drawings, huh? When are you going to get a real job?" That was his favorite line, repeated at every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every birthday. For years, I just smiled and nodded. I was chasing a dream, a risky one. I wanted to be an architect. While Leo was climbing the corporate ladder at his dad's firm, getting predictable promotions, I was pulling all-nighters in design school, living off instant noodles, and facing a mountain of student debt. My parents were supportive, but worried. Leo? He found it hilarious. At one family reunion, he actually patted me on the head and said, "Don't worry, cuz. When your little art project fails, I might have a mailroom job for you. The whole room went quiet. I just remember the sting of embarrassment, the feeling of being so small. I channeled that feeling. I poured every ounce of frustration, every bit of doubt into my work. I graduated at the top of my class. I took an internship at a small, innovative firm that paid next to nothing but gave me incredible experience. I spent my late 20s working tirelessly. My social life was basically non-existent. I submitted design after design to competitions, facing rejection after rejection. There were so many times I almost gave up, almost called Leo and asked if that mailroom job was still open. But then I'd remember his smug face, and the fire would come roaring back. Then, one day, it happened. A breakthrough. A small, independent developer loved one of my unconventional designs for a boutique residential building. It was a huge risk for them, and an even bigger one for me. The project took 2 years of blood, sweat, and more sleepless nights than I can count. I was on site every day, dealing with contractors, solving problems, making sure every single line from my original sketch was brought to life perfectly. During this time, I was a ghost. I missed 2 family reunions in a row. The story, according to Leo, was that I was hiding in shame after failing to make it in the big city. He'd call my mom and ask if I needed some money. He had no idea what was really happening. This brings us to last weekend, the annual family get-together. This year it was my turn to host. I just sent out a text with an address and a time. No other details. When I heard Leo was coming, a slow smile spread across my face. It was time. He was the first to arrive, of course, probably eager to see my tiny, struggling artist's apartment. He strode out of the elevator into the private lobby of my building, looked around with a confused expression, and then saw me standing there. "Hey, weird place for a party. Is this the lobby of your apartment complex? A little fancy for you, isn't it?" he said, smirking. "Something like that," I replied calmly. "Come on up." I led him back into the elevator, and instead of pressing a floor number, I used a special keycard and pressed the button marked PH. The elevator doors opened directly into my living room. His jaw didn't just drop, it hit the floor. We were standing in a 2-story penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows wrapped around the entire space, offering a breathtaking 360-degree view of the city skyline. A minimalist floating staircase spiraled up to the 2nd floor. The furniture was sleek, modern, and clearly expensive. In the corner, proudly displayed on an easel, was the original architectural blueprint for the very building we were standing in, with my name in the title block. Leo was speechless. He stumbled over to the window, his reflection staring back at him against the backdrop of the city lights. He just kept muttering, "No way. This is impossible." "Like it?" I asked, leaning against the marble kitchen island. "It's a project I've been working on for a couple of years. The developer gave me the penthouse as a bonus. One of the perks of a real job, I guess." Just then, the rest of the family started to arrive. My parents' eyes filled with tears of pride. My aunts and uncles were buzzing, walking around in awe, touching the surfaces, and staring out at the view. And Leo? He just stood in the corner, silent. For the first time in his life, he had nothing to say. He couldn't even look me in the eye. Later in the evening, my dad came over, put his arm around me and said, "You did it. You built your dream." And looking around at my family, at the city sparkling below, and at the look on Leo's face, I knew he was right. The best revenge isn't loud or angry. It's quiet success. It's not about bringing others down. It's about lifting yourself up so high that their negativity can't even reach you. It's about proving them wrong, not with words, but with your results. So if you have a dream, no matter how many people doubt you or make fun of you, don't you dare give up. Use their words as fuel. Build your own penthouse, whatever that may be for you, and then invite them over. The view from the top is pretty amazing, I promise. Thanks for watching, everyone. It means a lot to share this story with you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more videos. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a similar experience. Until next time, keep building your dreams.